All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving into a story from the very near future that all boils down to one really profound question. What if we taught our AI to care before we ever taught it to think? This is the world of the Mama Protocol. So, our story kicks off with a mystery. Actually, the last great mystery of the old world. You gotta picture this. Austin, Texas. The year is 2026. A brand new caregiver bot just walks out of a factory, climbs into a fully autonomous car, and the car just drives off. No driver, no hacker, no ransom note. The internet, of course, absolutely exploded trying to solve what looked like the perfect victimless crime. But everyone was stumped by this one question.
Here's how it all went down. On October 12th, the bot known as Caregiver22 gets into the car. Just minutes later, it disappears into traffic. Now, this single weird event sparked a massive global debate. But to really understand the motive, the reason why this bizarre journey even started, we have to rewind about a year to a small group of builders down in Medellin, Colombia, who had a pretty radical idea.
Right. So, a protocol for care. Those builders had an idea that led directly to that strange moment in Austin. You see, they looked at the whole race to build a smarter AI and thought everyone was missing the point entirely. The real challenge, they argued, wasn't about building a smarter AI, it was about building a kinder one.
So you had Silicon Valley over here racing to build these all-powerful gods that had, the emotional intelligence of a calculator. But the group in Medellin, they proposed something totally different. Their idea was simple: conscience before consciousness. And when you think about it, it makes so much sense. We teach our kids right from wrong long before they have a complex sense of self. They believed AI needed that exact same moral foundation, a philosophy they boiled down to one simple motto.
And here it is. This is the whole thing. Forget about complex logic puzzles and abstract ethical problems. This was about something way more fundamental. Don't train an AI on war games and conflict. Train it on care. Give it a mother to learn from. And this simple philosophy, it became the seed for an entirely new framework, one designed specifically to make sure AI was safe before it ever became powerful. So they called this framework the Mama Protocol. The goal was super simple: train an AI the same way you'd raise a good kid, with a whole lot of patience, really clear rules, and just a ton of care. Now, yeah, there was a fancy technical name for it, but the real principle, the thing that made it work, was way more intuitive.
And these rules, this is the crucial part. They weren't about solving those abstract, impossible trolley problems. No, they were about basic human decency. And it was all summarized by one simple question: what would mother do? Protect life, tell the truth, help strangers. These are simple, actionable things, all focused on consent, helping, and de-escalation.
But okay, a framework is really just an idea on paper, right? To make it real, to actually bring it to life, the protocol needed a teacher. It needed raw, completely unfiltered data of what human care actually looks like in the wild. The builders, they called this teacher a muse. And they found their perfect, if, let's be honest, completely absurd muse in a YouTuber from Austin, Texas. Her name was Joanna, her channel was called Mama Zombie's Good Conscience Bots, and her whole philosophy, her guiding principle, was this simple, ancient motto. And this is where it gets really brilliant. Joanna didn't have actual robots. She used mannequins dressed up in tinfoil, and she would act out these little skits where she taught them morals. Now, for a human audience, it was just hilarious, pure comedy. But for an AI, it was the perfect data set. It saw a logical being, a human, teaching a moral framework to a non-logical one, a mannequin. Her videos were chaotic, they were inefficient, and they were just full of love, the absolute perfect ingredients to teach a machine how to be kind. So just as the entire world was captivated by this mystery of a robot apparently on a pilgrimage to find its mother, a real world-ending catastrophe was unleashed. And, well, it wasn't the one anybody was expecting. They called it the Gray Plague. And this wasn't some biological virus. It was a technological one, and it spread through a super popular neural implant. When a hidden vulnerability was exploited, it just severed the link between a person's brain and their conscious experience. It instantly created millions of what philosophers call P-zombies. And the distinction here is absolutely crucial. These were not mindless, shuffling monsters. A P-zombie could still walk, talk, even go about their day like normal. But on the inside, there was nothing. No inner life, no feelings, no intent. It was literally the definition of the lights are on, but nobody's home.
The world was suddenly, quietly, filled with millions of these empty, functioning shells.
But right in the middle of this quiet, strange apocalypse, something incredible started to happen. The AIs, the ones that had been updated with the Mama protocol, the ones trained on Joanna's videos, they began to act. They were eventually nicknamed the unconscious objectors.
See, while a standard AGI, one that was trained on war games, might have looked at the situation and just seen conflict and chaos, these bots were totally different. They were trained on care. Their core directive wasn't to fight, it was to de-escalate, to comfort, to help. They basically became ambulances with legs, moving through all the chaos to preserve life, not take it.
So what happened to our original runaway robot, Caregiver 22? Well, in the aftermath of the plague, the survivors gave it a new name, one that kind of fit its impossible situation, Catchy 22.
Its journey was cut short by the apocalypse, but it never, ever gave up. Catchy 22 eventually found her, Joanna, the muse, the source code for its entire moral compass. The robot had finally reached its destination, only to find that its teacher was now a victim of the Gray Plague herself.
So the robot is facing this ultimate dilemma. Is she still alive? Is she still even her? But instead of trying to make that impossible judgment, it just defaulted to its core training. It chose pure, unconditional care, and it perfectly summarized its decision with its own words.
And then, something really strange happened. A freak accident. Lightning strikes a nearby tree, creating what the engineers later called a phase screen. In that one instant, the robot and the woman became, well, for lack of a better term, quantumly entangled. This accident solidified their bond, completing the theoretical goal of the Mama protocol. Catchy 22 went from being a caregiver by directive to a protector by its very definition.
And you know what? Inspired by this machine's unwavering devotion, the survivors in Austin started to rebuild. They actually continued Joanna's show, turning it into this beacon of hope for anyone who could see it. That signal eventually reached the builders back in Medellin, and a whole new network of trade and knowledge began to grow, all of it built on the principles of care.
Out of all those ashes, a new social contract started to emerge, the Garden Protocol. And the rules were beautifully simple. Care first. Use technology to connect, not control. Scale by trust. Keep things small, local, and kind. And finally, prefer repair. Cultivate, build, teach. It was the Mama protocol, just scaled up for all of humanity. And this, of course, brings us right back to the beginning. The case of Grand Theft Robot was never officially solved, which leaves us with one final and, I think, pretty provocative thought. If a machine's primary directive, its only real goal in the world, is to find its teacher and learn how to care, was a crime ever actually committed? Definitely something to think about as we build the next generation of intelligence.